A glass shattered before anyone moved. The sound cracked through the restaurant like a gunshot, and then another followed. A man at the far table dropped to his knees, clutching his chest as if something inside him had turned against him. Chairs scraped violently across the floor. Someone screamed, and then one of the guests lifted his head, his eyes no longer human, his teeth sharpening into something far more dangerous. Verena hadn't moved. Not a step, not a breath, but everything around her was breaking. Kael stepped forward instantly, his voice cutting through the chaos. "Everyone, step back!" The half-shifted man lunged fast and feral, but Kael intercepted him mid-air and slammed him hard against the table, the wood cracking under the force. The entire room fell into a violent silence that didn't feel natural. It felt forced, controlled, like something had pressed down on everyone at once. If you think that was intense, stay with me, because what happens next changes everything. Verena's breathing grew uneven, her chest rising faster now as she looked around, confusion overtaking her composure. What is happening?" she whispered, but no one answered her. Kova stood frozen near the edge of the room, his eyes locked on her with a realization that unsettled him deeply. "She's not attacking them," he muttered under his breath. "She's triggering them." The words barely left his mouth before another man stumbled backward, knocking into a chair, his hands shaking uncontrollably. Celine tried to step away from the table, but halfway through her movement, she stopped, completely. Her body refused to move another inch. Her breath hitched as fear replaced arrogance. She didn't understand why she couldn't leave, but something in her instinct told her not to try again. Kael turned sharply, his expression tightening as he looked directly at Verena. For a brief moment, something in his eyes shifted, something deeper, something ancient. His pupils narrowed slightly, and a faint golden flicker passed through them. When he spoke again, his voice carried weight. "Enough." The word didn't echo, but it didn't need to. It pressed down on the room, like gravity itself. The trembling stopped. The aggression dissolved. The half-shifted man on the floor went still. Even the air felt different, heavier, quieter, controlled. Kael took a step closer to her. "You need to come with me, now." Verena shook her head slightly, overwhelmed. "No, wait. You need to tell me what's happening to me." His jaw tightened. "Not here." He didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. Something in her told her to listen. Something deeper than fear. Comment below. Do you think she's dangerous? Or the one in danger? He guided her toward the exit, his hand hovering close to her but never quite touching her, as if even he wasn't sure what would happen if he did. Outside, the night air hit differently, colder, sharper. A black luxury car waited at the curb, engine already running. The driver didn't speak. The door opened. They got in. Silence followed them inside, like a third presence. The city lights blurred past the window as the car moved, but inside, everything felt still. Verena turned toward him slowly. "You knew," she said. It wasn't a question. Kael didn't answer immediately. His eyes remained forward, focused on something beyond the glass. "I suspected." The word landed heavier than she expected. She stared at him. "Suspected what?" He exhaled quietly. "That you weren't normal." Her expression hardened slightly. "That's not an answer." He finally looked at her. "That's the only one I have." A pause stretched between them, thick with tension. "What am I?" she asked again, softer this time. Kael's gaze shifted away. "That's the problem," he said quietly. "I don't think anyone knows." The car came to an abrupt stop. Tires screeched slightly against the asphalt. "We're not alone," he muttered. Ahead of them, 3 figures stood in the middle of the road, still, waiting. They didn't move as the headlights hit them. They didn't flinch. They just watched. Kael's expression darkened. "Stay inside," he said, already opening the door. But Verena felt it again, that pull, that strange awareness rising in her chest. She didn't understand it, but she knew this wasn't random. Outside, the air shifted the moment Cale stepped out. The three figures remained calm. Too calm. The one in the center tilted his head slightly. "You found her before we did," he said, his voice smooth, controlled. Kyle didn't react. "You shouldn't be here." The man smiled faintly. "She doesn't belong to you." Before the tension could stretch any further, one of them moved fast, precise, deadly. He lunged toward Cale, but the alpha met him head-on. The impact echoed across the empty road as Cale caught him mid-strike and drove him into the ground with brutal force. Bone cracked. The attacker didn't scream, but he didn't get back up either. The second one stepped forward, slower this time, measuring. "You've gotten stronger," he said calmly. Cale didn't respond. His stance shifted slightly, controlled, ready. "But it won't matter." The third one moved not toward Cale, but toward the car. Verena's breath caught. The door handle felt cold under her fingers, but she didn't open it. She couldn't. Something inside her told her not to run. The attacker reached the car, his hand lifting toward the glass. And then, everything slowed. The world didn't stop. It stretched. His movement dragged like it was being pulled through something invisible. Verena's eyes flickered again, stronger this time. Not just light, something deeper, something alive. The man froze. Not by choice, not by fear. His entire body locked mid-motion. His expression shifted from control to confusion. And then, he collapsed. Completely. Unconscious before he hit the ground. Silence followed. Heavy. Unavoidable. Cal stared at her, not with fear, not with surprise, but with something far more complicated. Understanding. Back inside the car, neither of them spoke immediately. The engine started again, but the tension didn't fade. It grew. Cale finally broke the silence. "You didn't touch him," she shook her head slowly. "I didn't do anything." He leaned slightly closer, studying her, his eyes searching for something deeper than what she was showing. That's exactly the problem. The space between them felt charged now, like something invisible had settled there. "You shouldn't exist," he said quietly. The words should have hurt, but they didn't. Instead, she found herself asking something she didn't expect. "Then why do you look like you've been waiting for me?" He didn't answer immediately. For the first time since she met him, he hesitated. That night, she couldn't sleep. The silence of the room pressed in around her, heavier than it should have been. She turned onto her side, then her back, then sat up completely. Something wasn't right. And then she heard it. A whisper. Faint. Distant. Not coming from outside, but from somewhere deeper. "You're awake." Her breath caught. She stood slowly, scanning the room, but nothing was there. The voice came again. Not louder, but clearer. "You remember." Images flashed through her mind fast, disjointed, overwhelming. Wolves bowing, blood on stone, chains wrapped around something massive, something trying to break free. She gasped and stumbled backward, her hand hitting the wall behind her. The images stopped. The silence returned, but the feeling didn't. Something had reached her. Something knew she was awake. If you heard that voice, what do you think it was? Comment below. The next morning, Kova stood across from Cale, his expression tight with frustration. "You knew," he said. Cale didn't deny it. "I knew what she might be." Kova shook his head. "That's not the same thing." Cale's gaze darkened slightly. "No," he said. "It's worse." Kova stepped closer. "Then say it." A pause. Then Cale spoke, quieter than before. "Because, if I'm right, then she's not just rare." He looked toward the direction Verena had gone. "She's the reason something was sealed in the first place." Far away, Deep beneath a place no one should have remembered, something shifted. Chains stretched. Stone cracked. A low, unnatural sound echoed through the darkness. Two figures stood in the shadows, watching. "She's awake," one of them said. The other didn't respond immediately. Then, slowly, "Then it begins." If you think this was just the beginning, you're right. Subscribe now, because part 3 changes everything.